Mike Geronimo is a legendary East Coast MC who was one of the first, if not the first person, signed to Irv Gotti. R.I.P. Irv Gotti. Mike Geronimo has performed and done songs with the who's who of hip-hop. DMX, Big Pun, Mos Def, and the list goes on and on. I had the chance to interview Mike Geronimo, so let's jump right into it. In this opening segment, we discuss Tupac, the beginnings of the East Coast, West Coast beef, and Tupac's classic diss song, Hit 'Em Up.
Initially, it didn't make sense to me, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. And then, you know, once it started to become more clear that, like, it was actually something you needed to pay attention to, then it was just kind of like, okay, you know, and it was just a strange air. I think for me, and in a way, it kind of was, you know, because I was fortunate enough, I guess, where if I met people, I just would be cool with them. So, you know, I had met a lot of people from the West Side coming out there earlier on in my career. I don't know, it's kind of different because at the point in time that Hit 'Em Up came out, like, I had my own relationship with Pac, and I was already, like, I was cool with Fatal and, you know, the rest of them dudes, so I wasn't surprised, I wasn't shocked when I heard Hit 'Em Up. You know what I mean? And I knew, you know, like, I knew for the most part what the Pac was. So to me, I wasn't really shocked that he did it. You know, in terms of what was said, maybe initially, but, you know, you just accepted it as, okay, it's true, and, you know, niggas is beefing with each other. So I was very fortunate because, like I said, I knew people from that side of that side of the country, you know, and I was fortunate in the sense of, you know, when you in a certain way, you in a certain way, you feel me? So when we went out there, I never at all, ever for 1 second felt like, you know, we were in danger. You know, people I knew, you know, and friends I have in the industry, maybe for them I might have had concerns, but never for myself. No, I felt comfortable.
Let's talk about the day we found out that he was shot. What were your initial thoughts?
I remember it because a friend of mine was hosting the Palladium, which was a nightclub out here. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that was the 13th, Friday the 13th, something like that. Mm-hmm. But I remember initially finding out that he got hit, and I was like, okay. And then I remember, you know, the news was coming in and they were saying it's not, you know, like, it's kind of serious. And then I remember the actual day that he passed away, because I was in the Palladium when he passed away. So it was just surreal, and it was sad, and it was sad.
Yeah.
Like, it was sad. Like, yeah, it was very quiet.
It was hard,
you
to
know,
believe.
I mean, yeah, because all I remember is I was in the middle of a nightclub and it was quiet. And something has to be incredibly powerful to be standing in the middle of a nightclub and it's quiet.
Yeah.
You know, and it was somber. You know, and it was somber, and I remember being angry because I was like, damn, he was so cool. Mm-hmm. Like, I just kept saying to myself, like, yo, the nigga was cool. Like, if niggas knew how cool he was,
yeah,
it probably wouldn't have been what it was, you know. And then I was just glad that I had, that time and that friendship with somebody, you know.
Mike Geronimo has some amazing stories, as do a lot of rappers from the 90s. It was a different time. In this next clip, Mike Geronimo discusses his relationship with Tupac and getting Tupac out of a jam in the infamous tunnel.
We was in the tunnel, and he was with people that I knew, you know, so, and I think this was maybe the second time we was like around each other. So, you know, if you ever been to the tunnel, you would walk in like a certain entrance, but then you could walk all the way to like past the stage, behind the stage area. And if you walked that way, there was like little corridors with like mirrors, but the mirrors had like platforms where you could put drinks on them, and you know, like you pretty much was designed to just chill in the hallway, whatever. So he wanted to, you know, like walk around the club. So me, my brother, and my cousin, and one of my mans, we was all, you know, it was like, yo, we told the other dudes, it was like, yo, you know, y'all thought we gonna walk around. And they was like, cool. So initially he was in front of us. And we started walking, and he pulled his weed out. And you know how you walk and you rolling up, walking, and somehow or another somebody bumped him and the weed fell on the floor. And at that point, I didn't see the actual bump. I just seen him looking at the trees, and then I was like, yo, don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yo, don't, and he's telling me don't worry about it. He got more, whatever. And I was like, well, you know, we got weed, don't worry about it. And so we keep walking, and then we don't get yet to where we're headed. And then again, the same thing happens. And this time we're like up against one of those mirrors with the platforms that I'm talking about. Somebody walks by and they brush him. And at this time I had seen it. So this time I can't to this day rightfully say if it was the same person. To me, I think it was a different person. I just think people had a hard on for him at that time, and so somebody else knocked the weed out of his shit, and he was tight. And like I said, this was maybe the second, third time I was around him, so we hadn't talked much, but I just remember that at that point, I saw it in his face. Like, and he had a look like he was just tired of that. And that shit had me kind of tight. You know, like I said, I didn't really know him, but it just had me tight to watch somebody do that to somebody, and then to watch that person fighting to not react to what just happened. You know, and you could tell he was ready to, you know, get in mode, but he's also trying to not get in mode.
Yeah. Probably been through that 1,000 times in the past 2 months.
Right. And again, I reiterate, I don't really know him at that point. You know, we just had mutual people we know. So when that happened, I told him, I said, yo, don't worry about nothing. And I told him he'll walk, like, you know, behind me. So I took the point, and he was like in between me, my brother, and my cousin, and my man and shit. So now I'm in front of him, and we still walking, and then, you know, I think my brother, either me and my brother, one of us pulled trees out. He's like, yo, just roll this shit up, whatever. And we walking, and I see a dude coming towards us, and he getting ready to bump the nigga. So I checked him, and I'm like, yo, the next nigga that bumps this nigga, man, you know, we just gonna go at it, because this nigga didn't do shit to nobody. So the kid at that point that was, I guess, fitting to bump into him, he's like, yo, you know, them West Coast niggas. And I was like, yo, I really don't give a fuck about this shit. This nigga's not bothering any. Period. You know what I mean? And mind you, I'm not really even thinking about him being behind me. I'm just so tight, like I said, by watching the experience and watching the ordeal. Like, I don't rock with shit like that. You know what I mean? So the niggas ain't do shit. you know. And then we got where we was. We rolled up, we smoked, and we was chilling. We really didn't really talk about it after that. You know what I mean? Like we did what we did. We was with other folk. The night went on. We chilled. You know, but I think that moment is where we started to get cool with each other. You know what I mean? And then I was seeing him more in passing, and like I said, we was connected to a couple of the same folk. So, you know, we would talk through them folk, you know, and then there'd be other times when I went out and he was there and we would have fun, you know. So, like I said, making everything full circle, it was sad and it was somber when, you know, when what happened happened.
If you like the interview so far, make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already. And if this is your first time joining the channel and you like what you hear, please hit that subscribe button. Next up is Mike Geronimo talking about the late, great Biggie Smalls.
Yeah, Big was cool. Big was my man, like, same way. Big was my man the same way. Okay. You know, the same exact way. So, again, with him, I think with him it was maybe a little different in the sense that was, you know, from home. You know, I'm from Queens, but I'm not from BK, but still, I was like from home. Mm-hmm. And I would say I seen him and was around him a hell of a lot more than I was around Son, around Pop. But nonetheless, you know, it hurt in the same way. You know, and it was sad in the same way, and it didn't make sense in the same way. I mean, they both have incredible legacies, and they both made contributions to music that no one else in this lifetime could have made. There will never be another Pac. There's never going to be another Big. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and like I said, at the end of the day, when I reflect to myself, the only way I could say, I just be honored that, you know, in my life, that was those are people that I was cool with. That I had the pleasure of saying, that's my man, that's family, that's family.
Michael Craig McDermott, born September 14th, 1973 in Queens, New York, better known by his stage name Mike Geronimo, is a rapper who was acquainted with Irv Gotti of Murder Inc. Gotti and his brother met Mike Geronimo at a Queens high school talent show, and Mike agreed to record a single, It's Real, which became a classic underground hit. Mike Geronimo landed a deal with Blunt TVT Records and debuted with the 1995 LP, The Natural. The 1997 album, Vendetta, saw him with a higher profile, working with the likes of Jay-Z, Ja Rule, DMX, The Lox, and P. Diddy on the single Nothing Moves But the Money. The video, which featured adult film star Heather Hunter. I loved me some Heather Hunter back in the day. She got me through a lot of lonely nights.
Really, nigga?
But anyway, here is Mike Geronimo discussing that time in his career.
I think me and Rule did our verses the same day, if I could recall correctly. So we were together, you know, but Hov did his verse separately and X did his verse separately. And it was really, you know, like Irv was just like, yo, I'm telling you, these niggas hit, da-da-da-da-da. And then he just played, I think the first one he played for me was DMX.
Okay.
And then I just heard the, you know, I'm peeling them off like oranges, hitting them in the head with 2x4 and shit. And I was just like, yo, this nigga's a nut. Well, like, wow. And then he played whole shit. And you chicken like you don't know where the ass whipping feels like. Some shit. You know, Hov says a ton of shit at once. But I was like, wow. And then that's when he told me, like, he's like, yo, you know, X and Jay, you know, they don't really get along or whatever. And I was like, I didn't know. He was like, yeah, they going at each other. They had many legendary battles, you know, but that's just the essence of, they was rivals. You know what I mean? Like, they was rivals, but then when he told me what was up and I listened to it again, I was just like, yo, these niggas is crazy because they lit each other up. Like, I just remember laughing, like, damn, they both lit each other the fuck up. Now what? So, you know, me and Irv was laughing, and he was just like, yo, nigga, that's it. And then he was just like, what you said, time to... I was like, yeah, and then he was like, just say that, recognize, understand shit again. And I was like, all right. And the next thing I know, we had the song, it was done, and that was it. You know, but I guess now, looking back, I guess people consider that to be the genesis. I guess, yeah, or absolutely, yeah. And it definitely is, because, like, to us, I tell people all the time, when you're in a moment, you kind of don't realize you don't realize how big something is sometimes when you're in the middle of it. You just there, bro, and you just do what you love, and you just record it, and you just hope that whatever you say can match whatever the next man said, because they inspire you to go that hard. So that's all we was ever looking at. You know what I mean? Like, we all fed off each other. We all would get inspired from each other. You know what I mean? So, but to look at it now and to see, you know, what it's turned into, you know, based on everyone that's involved, it's an amazing thing. And I'm glad I had, again, the experience.
I think this would be a good time to ask you to hit that like button. If you haven't already, please go on and smash it. And if this is your first time joining the channel and you like what you hear, please hit that subscribe button. And if you're feeling a little generous, shoot me a few dollars, man. You hit that little $sign right there below the chat and throw me a few bucks. I definitely appreciate it. But let's get back to my interview with Mike Geronimo. In this next clip, he discusses Irv Gotti and the early days of Murder Inc.
I was the first artist that Gotti had ever gotten signed to a label. So when I started with Irv, this was before there was even a notion of a Murder Inc. You understand what I'm saying? Like, he saw something in me, and he said that he had, you know, this studio, and he wanted me to come by and record. And me at that time, I was just spitting because it's just something I did. Like, I wasn't spitting to try and get a record deal and get on and all that other shit. I just liked rhyming. You know what I mean? And it just so happened that everything fall into play, and we were doing things. And then but while, I guess, dealing with me, he had also already been cultivating Rule and Chris Black and Oprah, and they were known as Cash Money Clip. So before there was a Murder Inc., there was just me and Cash Money Clip. And once I got put on, I guess the plan overall was, you know, I would come out, and then after me, it would be Cash Money. And simultaneously, as he's doing that with us, Irv's also dealing with getting Rockefeller established and Rough Riders established. So it was a thing where Irv was pretty much the hub to all of these different things. And he was the one that kind of was like, okay, I have all these things around me, and I'm going to move them all into the game this way, and this. And we may have all had different ways that he, how would you say, that he would implement to get us all in the door. But this was all before anyone was like, oh, okay, there's going to be a Rule album, and then another Rule album, and then the Shanti, and all of that was like, that wasn't even there. You understand what I'm saying? And so that came about during the process of the Natural. One of the reasons it came about was I hadn't directly signed to Irv. I had the option to sign to the label or to sign to his production company. And him and myself had ran into stumbling blocks contractually, Like, we didn't agree on certain things, and because of it, and because of other things, which, you know, I'm not going to go into. But
I was gonna
things,
say before you continue, because I always like to research and watch other videos, and if you want to know why him and Irv, you know, had their split, there's videos online, you know, just YouTube Mike Geronimo, Irv Gotti.
Right.
We're not going to get into it on my show. My show's about originality. I try to ask all the questions that everybody else has.
And mind you, I appreciate it. It's just like I said, I'm not going to full blown get into it, but in a nutshell, you know, there was things that ruffled feathers. And it was enough to make me say maybe signing to that production isn't what I wanted to do. And so I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And I think that me not doing that, it put him in the position where he had to revamp certain pieces. And it all worked out because Rule was already, you know, working every day on doing this thing and being this force known as Ja Rule. He was working at that every single moment. You understand what I'm saying? So it just so happened as fate would have it, you know, I didn't sign there, but because of that, that energy could be devoted to Rule, and it all worked out in the long run.
R.I.P. to Irv Gotti, man. He just passed away. 54 years old. So young. He's a mogul. He's a legend. He did so much for this game we call hip-hop and for R&B as well. So R.I.P. Irv Gotti, you will truly be missed. But let's continue with my Mike Geronimo interview. In this next clip, Mike Geronimo discusses a famous cipher he had with Cannabis, Big Pun, Mos Def, DMX, and John Forte.
Damn!
It was spontaneous, bro. Like, all I can remember from that day is I remember going to the label, and I remember, like, Irv saying some shit, like, we were supposed to go meet X for something. And I think he had, and I think he mentioned something about Teray asking us a couple of questions, and you know, like maybe I was high or whatever, but I was halfway listening, whatever. Whatever it was, I was like, all right, cool. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. So we went, and I just thought we was going to meet X. And then when we got there, you know, I saw, you know, everybody there, like Forte and Mos and Pun and all of them, Cannabis and all of them are all people, like I said, that I was very cool with, you know, regardless of anything. So I think it just turned into somewhat of a spontaneous roundtable interview. And then I think at some point, I think we was all having so much of a good time just chilling and talking regular, whatever, that like Teray just pretty much stopped asking us questions, you know, and we were just talking, and every now and again he was asking something, I guess, just to keep things steering on the right path, you know. But it was fun, bro, and it was just us, not like, you know, being candid, and it was just us being us, and it was just a bunch of good dudes sitting down and enjoying the fact that you're sitting with somebody else who creates music the same as you. And it was a good day. Like, I can honestly say it was a very good day, and it was a very good about the day, about all of us there. It was a good vibe, and we just had fun. And again, like I said, sometimes you'll do things and you're so unaware of what that moment is. You know, you're there in that moment. And so again, to see what it means now, you know, again, you feel honored, and I just appreciate that. I just appreciate that I have these moments. But you know, it's one thing to have moments and be thankful for just the little things, but when you have other moments, like, it's everything in the world. So I'm just really grateful, man. I'm very grateful.
Before we continue, I'm going to ask you again to hit that like button if you haven't already. And if you are enjoying what you are hearing, please hit that subscribe button. And let me know down below, were you a big Mike Geronimo fan? What was your favorite Mike Geronimo song? Let me know in the comments. But let's jump back into the interview. In this next clip, Mike Geronimo talks about working with 50 Cent.
Me, Fifth, and my man's Dark Side from Southside, we ended up doing a joint together, and that was cool, you know. He asked me to do the hook. I was like, yeah, no problem. I did the hook. He liked it, and the rest is history. Like me, bro, it's funny, somebody interviewed me not too long ago, and he was like, yo, you like the Forrest Gump of hip-hop. And I swear it, I laughed. I said, yeah, that's got to be one of the most accurate descriptions I've heard of it. You know, so I don't know what it was with me, bro, or is with me, or how or why. It's weird, but like I said, it's all stuff that I truly appreciate when I sit back and I look at everything, you know.
If you had to say the dopest, illest MC you've ever been in the studio with or heard somebody on your track with, who was it?
Most, if not all, of the individuals that I was fortunate enough to work with, they were very high caliber people, you know. So in the sense of the artists that they are, you know, and in one breath I could say Hov is definitely, well, I couldn't pick one, but I would say if I had to pick some, I would say Jay-Z definitely. Big definitely. I remember just being at large for and like freestyling with Nas.
Get out of here! You and Nas freestyling at Large Professor's house?
Nice.
Yeah,
with
like
Tech on the dresser.
Real lyricist.
Yeah, like Large was like, that's like my big brother. You know, like that's literally the first person I ever knew coming out of my house as a kid. So, you know, I would be at Large crib and like Tribe Called Quest would come over, or Pete Rock and CL, or Buster and Leaders, and like Nas ended up moving to the neighborhood, so it's kind of like, you know, you've been around a lot of people. But I would have to say, definitely Nas and Hov and my cousin Infrared, I would definitely say, from Rough Riders.
Because Nas is from Queensbridge, right? And you're from Jamaica?
Correct. Yeah, like I'm from Flushing and I'm from Southside.
Okay. Explain the difference. You know, there's always been that Queensbridge versus Queens thing.
Yeah, please, man.
Yeah, what's the difference?
And I know it's funny because like certain places in the world, they think Queens is all Queensbridge.
Yeah.
Like, and they'll say Queensbridge, it's like, yeah, Queensbridge, but I'm not. But that's cool. Nah, but it's just the layout of the land. Like Queensbridge is closer to the western side of Queens, and like South Side and Flushing, that's more North Queens and more West Queens. And more East, Southeast Queens. And I mean, it's cool because even though there's all these areas in Queens, people genuinely know the same folk, even though it's a pretty big borough. But you still have within territories and within the provinces, you know, you have certain cultures in a certain province.
Yeah.
So it might not be exactly the way that it is in Flushing, that it is in Queensbridge, and that might not be how it is in Corona, and that might not be how it is in Astoria. But, you know, you still have an air of Queens about you. So there's little differences between us. Southside is definitely, I would say, like the biggest area in terms of like, you know, like land per se and population in Queens. So a lot of people come from that Jamaica part of the woods.
Yeah.
But the vibe in Jamaica and the vibe in Queensbridge, they might not have been the same thing. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was just little differences, but all in all, everybody would still find a way to all get along.
You are tuned in to Dusty Vision TV, and this is my exclusive interview with Mike Geronimo. Next up, Mike goes in depth on the Queensbridge versus South Bronx battle. Shan versus KRS-One. In this clip, Mike Geronimo reminisces on this infamous battle and how it felt being from Queens and seeing his section being repped so hard in hip-hop.
You had a sense of pride, you know, like, and I think that those earlier battles, like, they weren't as, it wasn't so much that you would be like, okay, this is going into a physical confrontation. Like, you didn't look at it that way.
No.
You just looked at it like, right, you had pride in your borough, you know, and Queens was Queens and the South Bronx, and we had Shan and they had KRS-One, and you know, you might have considered KRS-One to be a better MC, but you was still going to root for Shan because he was from your hometown. And the truth be told, if you was at any jam at that time, or if you was at any block party or whatever, you really wanted to hear both records. It's not like you was from Queens and you just wanted to hear the bridge. You wanted to hear the bridges over too.
Yeah, can't lie. Both songs.
Dope,
those beats.
Yeah, because exactly, and I mean, just that time in general in hip hop, like to see the friendly competition between MCs. You know, like you had G-Rap and you had Rakim and you had ETMD and you had Big Daddy Kane, and you know that all these people never directly made major issues with each other, but they did joust on some friendly, you know, rhyme shit, and that was cool, and that was good for the culture because it made everybody else step their shit up. You know, so it was an awesome time, bro. And again,
damn,
I love that answer.
It was cool. It was cool to have those memories.
Yeah.
It's amazing to have that in your database. You know what I mean?
I really hope you enjoyed the interview, and I truly appreciate you joining me. Before you head out, please make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already. And if this is your first time joining the channel and you appreciated what you hear and you want to hear more, please hit that subscribe button. I have a lot of interviews with some legends, and it's only going to get better right here on my channel. So make sure you subscribe to DustyVisionTV right here on YouTube. Not only that, please subscribe to me on the Rumble app. That's RUMBLE. It's an app that you put on your phone, and you could subscribe to Dusty Vision TV right there on the Rumble app. It's a little more uncensored. You're a little more free to say what you want to say on Rumble since YouTube has a lot of strict censorship guidelines. But please go over to Rumble and subscribe to Dusty Vision TV, all one word. You can also find me on Instagram. Who's on Instagram? Raise your hand if you're on Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Dusty Vision Radio. Do a lot of advertisements there. So please follow me on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. I have a big group on Facebook, close to about 10,000 people on my Facebook group, Dusty Vision TV. You can check out some exclusive content over there, as well as seeing what is next up for your boy Dusty Vision. But once again, man, I appreciate you joining the show. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Mike Geronimo. I hope you learned something about 90s hip hop. And I hope you do come back and check out my channel for some more content. I'm going to get out of here. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.